This closure idea I've named the Removable Apron Journal Tie. And I've named it this because it's like a little apron. You've got a ribbon that ties around the waist of your junk journal. You can tie it in a big fluffy bow just like this, and the lace and all the layers, they just hang down the front like an apron. G'day, it's Donna from Australia. This is part 1 of my covers and journal closures series. I'm going to start off by showing you how to make this pretty apron journal tie and how to use a printable book cover to make this journal cover. And here's a sneak peek of the next video, part 2, where I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful flip cover topper here. So let's get started with the journal tie first. Well, I've got this beautiful bee-themed doily and I've glued it on the front of my journal, and I really didn't want to cover it. So what I decided to do was make an apron tie. Every single one of these doilies come from the charity shop. You can cut them up. Don't be afraid to cut them up. See this one here? No matter how you lay it down, it doesn't lay flat. So it's ideal to cut up. This one here, I didn't even coffee dye it. This is its natural colour. I've already started cutting into it. Just cut out the pieces. Don't worry about it fraying. It won't matter at all. It won't come unravelled. See this piece here? I cut it off one of my tops before I threw the rest of it out as a rag. I thought I'm not going to waste any of it. So see how I'm just cutting this out? I'm really not taking a lot of care. I think this method, it just suits being a little bit rough. And once you've cut it out, even though it was designed to be in a circle, it sort of straightens out a little bit. The best way to do this is to put them in layers. Put your longest piece at the back and then a shorter piece over the top. And if they are a different colour, it will look even better because then you'll be able to see the layers a lot better. If you've got a really pretty silk ribbon like this, I like to bring it more to the top as well. So if you haven't got any of these little crochet doilies that have been handmade by someone, just cut out a doily off one of your bigger doilies. Now I'm just going to move this on to the front of my journal just to see if it's heading in the right direction. I'm going to use hot glue today. You can definitely use fabric glue, but I want this to go together pretty quick. Now to start me off, I'm going to tie my ribbon on the journal first. The reason I'm doing this is so I know where to place my apron. So I'm going to start by putting small amounts of the hot glue on the first 2 layers of my little lace skirt. You don't need a lot. So I'm going to put a peg on the halfway mark here at the spine. Now there's 2 reasons I do this. One is so I know where to place my apron on the front, and the second part is so that my ribbon is even on the front and the back. Now I know exactly where I want to put the skirt under my ties, and I'm going to put some dabs of glue across the front, and I'm going to lay the ribbon down in sections. Now I've got 2 strands of my ribbon here. I'm just going to twist them and wind them around so that the colours show up randomly together, and just put dots of the glue there and just touch them down. I do the same on the front and then around the spine area to the back. I'm going to continue layering on the front here. I'm going to work out which pieces I like the best to add on top of the ribbon layers, and I find that it's easier to tie your apron bow up just so that you get a better idea of the balance of how everything's going to look when it's finished. It does really work out well when you do this, and you can lay things out and then glue them into place. Now that I've got all this finished, I undo my bow and I turn my apron over, and this is when I realise I've glued my little layers of the skirt in upside down. I couldn't believe it. But as you know, when we're using fabric, lace, paper and glue, everything is fixable. So I cut out a new piece and I just tucked it in under all the other pieces and glued it in place. No one will ever know that I'd done this upside down. Now I want to show you how versatile these journal ties are. Just take it off one journal and pop it on another one. This journal is entirely different, but look, it works. And here's another one. This one is so plain, but as you can see, it dresses it up instantly. You don't have to commit to gluing something onto your cover that you're not sure about. And if you're wondering, does it work with fabric? It sure does. Just tear off a piece of fabric. Put some layers of scraps of anything at all. Just glue whatever you've got to the back. And if you've only got some little store-bought roses, just glue them in place at the front and it looks good. No matter what journal you put it on, it looks fantastic. Here it is on that soft pink cover journal. It looks beautiful on here because it's got the doily on the background. Honestly, if you use these old crocheted doilies and just neutral colours, these style of ties are going to go with any journal you put them on. Now I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful gold-edged faux covers that you can put on a fabric cover. You can put it on a recycled book to make your journal cover. And if you haven't got any gold leaf, the real McCoy, you could use gold paint as a substitute. I'm not showing you how to make the whole journal today, just the cover, and you'll then be able to glue that cover directly onto the front of your journal. Here's what I'll be showing you how to make. You need a printable of a cover and a background layer. The gold leaf I put on the background layer and the book cover itself. If you don't have a printable of a book cover, you could just use a pretty piece of scrapbook paper. You can add the gold leaf or leave it off entirely. What you need to make this is a cover of choice. I've used the Amity Bloom cover. I adjusted the settings to fit on an A4 paper size, and once it was printed, I cut my covers into two separate pieces. You'll need some gold leafing if you've got any. You'll need the glue that sets the gold leaf to your paper. I'm just using the flitter glue. You'll need a piece of craft text for your background, and if you haven't got craft text, just use cardstock. The craft text I'm using was just a sample pack. In this sample pack there was 5 colours, so I've just picked this beautiful tan colour. Now I'm expecting that your journal is already made here, so you would cut out your base piece based on the size of your front and back cover. For mine, I've made my craft text piece the same size as my front and back cover, and I'm going to leave the spine exposed. And when I put my faux cover on the front, you can see the craft text border behind it. So I put some of the glue on a non-stick mat first, and I've got a scrap piece of sponge. I pat the sponge directly into the glue, and then I pat it off the glue onto the mat. and then I start dabbing it onto the edge of my craft text. And if you're not using craft text, you do the same if you're using cardstock. And then you just pat it onto the edge of your craft text or cardstock. And depending on how much of the gold leaf you want showing is to how much of the glue you want on your edge. On my decorative piece, I put less glue because I only want a little bit touching the edges here and there. Now, it's very important that once you've put the glue on these pieces, that you walk away for a good hour or so. Let it dry. Do not try and put the gold leaf straight on the glue while it's wet. You would think that's how you do it, but it's not. You've got to leave it for a while until it goes tacky. Now I can just pick up a piece of the gold leaf and bring it over and lay it on top of the glue. Now you'll see that it just grabs to it instantly. So once you've got it on the top piece, it's up to you whether you want any on the sides. I wanted to colour my sides, so I press it on the sides as well as the top. And because you used a sponge, you will get a little bit of gold on the underside of your Craftex piece as well. Just don't worry about that, keep going. So now I've done all the way around the edges of my base piece. I've come back around with the gold leaf and I've done my decorative cover. And once I've gone all the way around, I just get my paintbrush and I just rub it backwards and forwards and brush off all the excess gold leaf. It's pretty easy to do, it's satisfying to do, and it looks fantastic when it's all finished. So you can see the one on the right, I've done just the gold on the edge of the base and not on the decorative colour, and the one on the left, I've done it on both. Now it's time to glue the decorative cover to the base cover. I'm using the Helmer fabric glue for this. If you're in the United States, you would use your Fabri-Tac. Yes, it sticks perfectly to Craftex. If you're using the cardstock, do the same. Use a fabric glue because it won't warp your paper. Once I've put my two layers together, I like to use my bone folder to smooth out any of the glue. And don't put your glue too close to the sides because when you do this, you'll just push it out and it won't look so good. Now, because I've already made my text block and I've made mine out of fabric, it doesn't matter if you've got a fabric text block or if you're going to glue these covers directly onto a recycled cover. You would do the same. Put the glue on the back of your faux cover. I like to start at the back, by the way, and then starting from the corners, the outside corners, line up the outside corners of your cover, and then it will just fall into place. My faux cover is exactly the same size as my fabric inside cover. And then I check the inside to make sure that I've got it in the right place. Now I've grabbed a text block out of a book that I've pulled apart before, and I just lay it down on my cover so that I'm not putting any stress on my spine and my pages while I'm flattening this down. I leave that here and I walk away while it's drying. Now that's dry, I come back and I do exactly the same on my front cover. I put the glue on the back of my faux cover. Again, I'm putting it on top of my text block and I'm flattening it down with my bone folder and I'm going to leave it here to dry. Now it's had time to dry. What I want to show you here is that you pay extra attention to this section here when you're gluing it down because you don't want this part to lift up. Now I've made my cover a little bit wider here because I'm going to add tabs to my pages. So if you didn't want your cover as wide, you just cut it back a bit. But now the journal is completed. The spine is soft, but it still functions perfectly. It lays flat when I open it up. If you want to know how I've made this fabric text block here, if I get enough interest on this in the comments, I will do a video for you on how I made it. And if you want to hop straight into it and make this journal here, there's 2 videos. There's one on how to make the cover, and the second video is how to sew the signature into this fabric cover. The first video is step by step on how to make the soft spongy cover. And the second video is how to make the signature in either A4 or letter paper size and sew it into the fabric. Because the fabric's always a little tricky to sew, so there's some great tips in this video to help you get and sew your signature in. See you on part 2 for more cover and journal closure ideas.